So, biohacking is a fairly broad term, but simply put, it's about modifying your body to achieve your goals. It can be something as simple as regular exercising to something complex like gene modification and even chip implantation for those who dream of becoming cyborgs.
People will actually add like a little magnet inside their finger, which gives them like this weird magnetic sense.
There are people who would claim, sometimes very far-fetched claims, that biohacking can allow you to live more than, say, 100 years. So essentially, you'll be living the life of a hobbit.
People claim that diseases are being cured, for example, heart diseases or dementia, etc.
Indeed, biohacking has become a trendy catch-all buzzword and credited with all sorts of wonders for your body. But how much of these claims are actually true? I know what you're thinking. What does this guy know about the future? That's the thing, I'm no expert. That's why I've signed up for this job.
Oh boy. I feel like I'm giving birth to aliens.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, there you go, right there. Wow.
Digital resurrection.
Digital biomarkers.
Tissue engineering.
GM manipulations.
Organ on a chip.
If all these buzzwords are supposed to change the way we live forever, I want to be in on that conversation to find out exactly what's the big deal about biohacking. I'm approaching my 40s. Now, call it vanity or a midlife crisis, whatever you want. I am proud that I've started on a fitness journey. And in the upcoming Singapore Marathon, wow! I would like to run 10 kilometers.
10.
So the maximum distance I've run at one time is about 6 kilometers. And I've got about a month to get ready for this 10-click run.
But at this point in my life, recovering from my training runs is taking longer, and my knees and ankles are constantly hurting. Is biohacking the answer to my woes? I know that's what some pro athletes my age have been doing. The thought of freezing my naked body in negative 150 degrees Celsius gives me the chills. So Ronaldo's cryotherapy is out for me. I'll check out LeBron James's favorite hyperbaric oxygen therapy first, since oxygen intake seems to be more relevant to my training. Or is it? Wow.
So this is it, huh?
Yep, this is a hyperbaric chamber.
So how is the treatment conducted?
First, the patient is placed on the chair here.
Okay, so I sit here? Is that okay?
Strapping me in is Dr. Wong. He's been practicing hyperbaric medicine for more than 30 years.
Okay, so this first part is a neck seal. We need to get it over your head.
My hair. Oh.
Now we'll put the oxygen hood over
Okay.
Wow.
Then we squeeze it in. Then we connect the oxygen hoses to the hood so that you breathe 100% oxygen. And we will compress the chamber with compressed air.
Normal air has only 21% oxygen, so the hood allows me to breathe air with 5 times more oxygen. The pressurized chamber then forces the oxygen into the blood plasma, which helps in wound healing.
Right now, I'm kind of running 6-7 kilometers, but I'm hoping that in the next month or so, I'll be able to run 10 kilometers. And I'm thinking of how I can biohack my way through it. You think that's possible?
Hyperbaric oxygen doesn't improve your performance in this way. Hyperbaric oxygen is best used for wound healing. So it heals tissues that are compromised because of the lack of oxygen to the tissues. whether it's due to swelling, whether due to a disruption of the blood flow. The top tier athletes, they use hyperbaric oxygen as a rehab, as a recovery from their injuries. In a normal person breathing hyperbaric oxygen, he will not get the kind of benefit that he's imagining with biohacking, as it were.
In fact, according to Singapore's medical regulations, this device can only be used for 13 specific conditions. They include severe burns, diabetic ulcers, and carbon monoxide poisoning. It does that by creating 3 times the normal air pressure inside the chamber. That is like diving 20 meters below sea level. The high air pressure hacks our lungs to take in more oxygen than usual. This oxygen enters our bloodstream and are transported to damaged cells that were originally deprived of oxygen, helping them heal. But if not done properly, the high air pressure can damage our lungs and ears, which is why it is highly regulated in Singapore. So this really isn't for me in my quest to run 10 kilometers, which leaves me with red light therapy. For that, I am at a clinic started by Jenny Huang. Jenny is not only a physiotherapist, she's also won a couple of endurance races. And it sounds to me like she's the right person to go to for my 10-kilometer quest. But before I even get to see her...
Sheesh, kebabs!
Right now you're deep in the chili effect, okay?
Oh no!
Okay, I think we need to rewind just a bit.
Okay.
I don't want you to do a little knee bend like this for me, up and down. Yeah, up and down a couple of times for me. So it's gonna be just like this.
My torturer is Connor McHugh, a physiotherapist at Jenny's clinic. After evaluating my body moments earlier, he found scar tissue in my right ankle, which I've indeed sprained more than a couple of times.
Nice and easy.
Scar tissues are formed to repair and protect injuries in our bodies. But they also restrict blood flow and limit my muscle movement. Red light therapy can break them down, but that will take a month.
You ready, Rishi?
All right.
Which is why Connor is applying a more efficient method.
Oh man.
Shockwave therapy.
It's high frequency sound waves being delivered to the tissues. So we're biohacking our healing system. Just get into all that scar tissue.
Oh my gosh. You know, I've always wanted to become a comedian that sends shockwaves through the industry. I never thought that one day the industry would send shockwaves through me.
Well done, Rishi. Good job.
With the unwanted scar tissues broken down, I'm finally allowed to see Jenny and proceed with red light therapy.
So red light basically is working at a cellular level. It's actually hacking into your mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of your cells. Your powerhouse is hacked to create more energy source for the rest of your cells. And when that happens, your muscles recover faster, your circulation is improved.
So that means if I were to not do anything and just let my body heal, it would heal at a slower pace.
Correct. So biohacking, it's basically like going to enrichment class. So you're not gonna do it in one day, where it's like, I feel great, but you're gonna do it over a few days, and then it'll actually help with your running.
This is like tuition for my muscles and my mitochondria.
Correct.
The therapy is supposed to help me recover faster after each training, which means that I can train more often and at higher intensity. Hey, perhaps I might make it to 10 kilometers after all.
So I just wrapped the second session of my red light therapy. This felt like a power nap in the sun, you know, so I feel a bit more refreshed now. Yeah, I don't know if this is a placebo effect or what, but I do feel like I'm more ready to take on the next session of workout.
After barely 4 weeks of training, I set off to conquer 10 kilometers.
Final 200 meters. Let's do this.
So the initial physical assessment that I did here, together with the shockwave therapy and also the red light therapy, all kind of helped me to get more in tune with my body, and it helped me recover faster so that I could train for my first ever 10-kilometer run, which I'm glad to share that I completed injury-free. So mission accomplished.
But I'm now hearing of a contraption that can apply red light therapy to my brain. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that.
So this strange looking contraption apparently has the ability to make me smarter, if I dare put it on my head. How exactly can this V-Light make me smarter?
We haven't actually done a properly controlled clinical trial to say that this is making you smarter. We did some small clinical studies to try to get evidence with people who are impaired cognitively, like having dementia or Parkinson's disease. So far, the evidence has been promising. MIT published a very important paper, an animal study. They delivered light to the brain of the rats. They were bred to have Alzheimer's symptoms in a cage, and when the light was pulsing at 40 hertz, the markers for Alzheimer's disease were reduced significantly. It actually helps to release nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is pretty much like what Viagra does, to improve your blood circulation by relaxing your blood vessels. When your brain has more circulation, that means that part of your brain is working.
Is this something that is already approved for use for consumers in the market?
The FDA has a classification for devices under general wellness. FDA allows for statements like it helps with mental acuity for wellness, as opposed to say it is treating medical conditions.
So, much like the red light therapy I used before, this device also claims to use red or near infrared light to stimulate, heal, or regenerate tissue. But we don't know enough to tell conclusively what it can do. Although, early signs are promising that it may be able to help with age-related neurological conditions.
With one of the world's fastest aging populations, I reckon by the time I am an old man, Singapore is going to be rife with age-related problems. Fortunately though, that very prospect has spurred Singapore to invest heavily in biohacking to fight aging. And one of the areas that is showing a lot of promise is stem cell research.
Stem cells are cells that essentially have the ability to differentiate into existing cells in your body. If you have a part of the body that is injured, for example, the hope is that the stem cell, when injected in that particular spot, will actually help to regenerate that particular part of the body.
The first experiments have been already 20, 30 years ago, but this is far from being implemented into clinical practice. It really needs, I would say, 5 to 10 years to be there to judge if it's going to work.
Well, Professor Jodhbir Mehta thinks he's close. His team is looking at using stem cells to reverse cornea blindness, the loss of sight caused by diseased or damaged cornea.
Why is there such a keen interest in treating corneal blindness?
Age-related corneal changes normally can affect up to almost 7% of the population in Singapore. So the conventional cadaver-based treatment, so we use a tissue from somebody who's kindly donated their corneas, and then we transplant that into the eye itself. The problem with that treatment is that there's a massive worldwide shortage of basically getting corneal tissue.
So, what Prof. Mehta and his team have been doing is to use a donor's cornea tissue to culture many stem cells in their lab. In theory, these stem cells can be used to repair and replace damaged cornea cells in multiple patients.
So the big advantage is instead of just treating one patient from one donor, we can treat almost 90 patients from one donor.
So how is this biohacking?
Yeah. So biohacking it's a concept of trying to increase the regeneration inside the body itself, using some sort of surgery or using something to stimulate your own cells in the body.
How recent is this form of therapy?
It's quite new because the recipe has taken time to mature, but with years of research, it's taken us to a level now where we're basically doing clinical trials. Everything has been approved, so the first patient now is going to have it in just basically next month in Singapore.
But it's taken Professor Mehta 9 years to get to clinical trials. The lengthy time needed for regulated medical research is spurring a DIY biohacking subculture in the West. Individuals who are experimenting dangerously on their own bodies.
DIY biohackers use the existing tools of science, for example, and then to sort of do it themselves.
A lot of them have a scientific background, but then there's other people who are just everyday, like maybe electrical or mechanical engineers who have no knowledge of biology, and they're recruited to sort of help with some of the sort of design.
It's a little bit like hacking into their own biology and body. One reason is because they think the way science advances is very slow. There are many regulations.
The DIY biohacking movement also includes those who are trying to enhance their own bodies using hardware. From having an antenna that allows the colorblind to identify color through hearing, to having a weather fin to become a walking barometer. These folks are known as grinders, and they are part of a biohacking subculture. Their goal? To push the normal limitations of the human body and achieve extra abilities to become cyborgs. So a certain Michael Laufer even installed a small server in his leg just so he could stream movies. Sounds pretty wild, doesn't it? You know what's wilder? This guy's agreed to meet me on the condition that I don't disclose his location. Because, well, I guess he's not really sure if he might get into trouble with the authorities where he is for doing what he's doing. So I'm sorry, folks. I'm gonna have to turn this off right now. Tell me about the implant that you've got.
So mine's been removed. What we did was we came up with a way to make an implantable pirate file server called the peg leg.
Okay.
It is an open network that does not connect to the internet. So it's a local area network.
A local area network is a group of devices at a physical location that share a common link to a server. This means that information can only be shared between devices that are linked to the same physical server. Such a network can be totally cut off from the internet, making it hard to trace and therefore hard to hack. Which is the case for the peg leg.
Where this becomes interesting is in trying to move data from point A to point B in a way that's less traceable. And what you could do is being a data courier, where you can say, I am going to be in this public place for an hour, and my peg leg is going to be hot. And then anybody who's around can log in and upload whatever they want. And then you fly other side of the world. You'd be in this public place for an hour, and the peg leg is going to be hot. Then again, somebody can show up and download whatever they want.
So, you become a walking router.
And file server. Well, you're a hotspot, but you don't connect to the internet.
So that makes you a cyborg as well if you've got implants.
So if you just touch here, you can see that little bright spot.
Yeah, okay.
There's this is a glass capsule.
You've got a glass capsule in your hand. Why?
And so this has an RFID chip in it. This can substitute for keys to your house, keys to your car, passwords on your computer, unlocking your phone, even contact information. Just scan my hand with your phone, and contact information just goes in.
RFID, or radio frequency identification, is the same wireless technology used by credit cards for contactless payment. In this case, instead of sitting on a card, a chip inside Michael's hand has an ID code. A code which can be read by an electronic reader that emits and receives radio waves.
I thought you might be excited about this.
Yep. I am.
So, can I see your hand?
You can, sure.
So, if I were to install one of these chips, I just tent your skin like this, and then we go in like this, and then you feel a little poke, and it would pop in. If you want, I can give you a chip right now.
What? Is this for real?
Yeah. This is the chip that would sit inside.
In all honesty, I'm not entirely sold on the idea of needing to have everything on me all the time.
Well,
yeah.
You don't. It's not a need. You're not responding to a need. You're creating options. You're creating convenience.
The biohacking movement is extremely broad, but the primary motivation remains the same. You want to improve the quality of your life by manipulating your body. Now, does that mean that I'm going to be tampering with myself to turn into a cyborg anytime soon? Probably not. But who knows? There might come a point in time where even that becomes too big of a deal for me to ignore.